October 26, 2019. The clock strikes just past midnight in northwest Syria. The sky over Idlib province is heavy, pitch black, perfect for anyone who doesn't want to be seen. Cutting through the air at nearly 200 miles per hour, 8 special ops birds, Chinooks and Black Hawks, are flying dangerously low, skimming the treetops to stay off enemy radar. Inside these war machines, it's dead silent. You're looking at operators from Delta Force, the most lethal and secretive unit in the United States. They've trained their whole lives for impossible missions, but tonight's op, codenamed Kayla Mueller, carries a different kind of weight. The target isn't just some random commander. They're going after Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, the man responsible for spreading terror globally, who has been ghosting capture for 5 years. The soldiers check their rifles, adjust their thermal optics, and prep their demo charges. But in the middle of this human elite, one member is breathing a little differently. He doesn't know the target's name, he doesn't understand geopolitics, and he couldn't care less about the $25 million bounty on the enemy's head. He's there for one reason: the hunt drive and loyalty to his handler. His name is Conan. And in the next few hours, this dog is going to do what trillions of dollars in military tech couldn't. He's going to look the devil in the eye and corner him in his own personal hell. To understand the gravity of what went down that night, we need to pause the op for a minute and understand exactly what this creature is. Conan isn't the kind of dog you see walking in the park. He's a Belgian Malinois, a breed that, over the last few decades, has replaced the German Shepherd as the #1 pick for elite units like the SEALs and Delta Force. But why? The answer comes down to biology and physics. The German Shepherd is strong, sure, but the Malinois is aerodynamic. They're lighter, faster, they handle the desert heat better, and they have a psychological trait trainers call infinite prey drive. A dog like Conan goes through a selection process just as brutal as the soldiers themselves. Out of every 100 dogs tested, maybe one makes the cut. Training one costs the US taxpayer about 50 grand, but their real value? You can't put a price on it. They're trained to ignore the deafening sound of machine guns, to sniff out explosives buried feet underground, and, most impressively, to distinguish between an innocent civilian and an armed combatant in a split second. Conan, specifically, was a veteran. He'd been on over 50 combat missions before that night. He wasn't just using his fur, he was strapped in a state-of-the-art tactical vest worth $30,000, bulletproof, rappel-ready, and rigged with night vision cams and a radio, letting his handler see exactly what the dog sees and give commands remotely, even through concrete walls. Conan was literally a living, lethal, indestructible drone. Back to Syria. The choppers reached the objective, an isolated compound on the outskirts of Berisha. American intel knew the place was a death trap. If they knocked on the front door, they'd be greeted by landmines and snipers. So, Delta Force went with brute force. Instead of landing and asking for surrender, the attack choppers opened up, neutralizing the sentries. Simultaneously, the ground teams blew the side walls of the compound, making their own doors and catching the terrorists completely off guard. Chaos broke out. Screams, explosions, dust, and the dry snap of suppressed rifles dominated the air. Delta's efficiency was surgical. In a matter of minutes, Baghdadi's guards were dropped or zip-tied. With extreme care, the operators managed to pull out 11 children and 2 adults who were on site, sparing the innocents. The compound was being cleared, room by room, hallway by hallway. But the primary target, the man the whole world was looking for, wasn't in the bedrooms. Baghdadi, realizing his empire had crumbled, ran. He dragged 3 young children with him, using them as human shields, and fled toward a network of underground tunnels dug beneath the property. It was a narrow hole, damp and dead-ended, designed to be the last refuge, or the tomb, of anyone who entered. The soldiers reached the mouth of the tunnel and stopped. Military protocol shifted in that second. Going into that dark hole after a desperate suicide bomber was a death sentence for any human being. The space was too tight to manipulate a rifle, and it was pitch black. Sending in an EOD robot would take precious minutes, time enough for Baghdadi to arm up or prep a bigger trap. The ground. Force commander looked at Conan's handler. Not a word needed to be said. The handler released the vest clip. It was Conan's turn. The dog shot into the darkness like a missile. Picture the scene through Conan's eyes. Or better yet, his nose. The smell of damp earth mixed with the acrid scent of fear and explosives. He tore down that tunnel at max speed, guided only by the sound of the terrorists' footsteps. Baghdadi, the man who beheaded hostages and burned prisoners alive, was now running, terrified, chased by a force of nature that couldn't be bribed, couldn't be intimidated, and wouldn't stop for anything. At the end of the tunnel, cornered against the dirt, Baghdadi heard the sound of Conan's claws scraping against the floor, getting closer and closer. Fear took over. Knowing he was about to be captured and probably torn apart by the dog before the soldiers even got there, the terror leader made his final, cowardly decision. He detonated his suicide vest. The blast was massive. The shockwave ripped through the confined space like a cannon shot. The tunnel collapsed on itself. Baghdadi and the 3 innocent children he dragged down there were disintegrated instantly. Conan, who was just feet away from closing the gap, was thrown back by the force of the explosion. Outside, the operators felt the ground shake. Dust plumed up. Silence returned, heavy. The primary mission was accomplished. The target was KIA. But the team's priority shifted immediately. Over the radio, the question echoed. Status on the dog? They don't leave gear behind, and they definitely don't leave a team member. Conan was buried. On top of the blast impact, the tunnel collapse exposed live high-voltage wires. Amidst the water and rubble, Conan was electrocuted while trying to get back up. The Delta Force operators, men hardened by years of war, rushed to dig him out. They clawed through the debris and pulled Conan's wounded body free. He was dazed, burned, and cut up by shrapnel. But he was alive. The extraction was dramatic. The dog was carried out in arms, just like a wounded soldier, and rushed to the medevac chopper. During the flight back, while medics worked on him, the news of Baghdadi's death was circling the globe. The President of the United States would make an announcement the next morning. But behind the scenes, the elite unit had only one concern. Would Conan make it? Surprisingly, the genetics and resilience of the Malinois breed proved themselves once again. Despite the severe injuries, Conan bounced back with a speed that shocked the military vets. In a few weeks, he was back on his feet. Because of the classified nature of Delta Force, where operators' names and faces are never revealed, the US government couldn't show the human heroes of that night. But they could show Conan. The photo of the dog, tongue out and ears perked, wearing his tactical vest, was declassified and released. It broke the internet. Conan became an instant symbol. He was brought to the White House for an official ceremony, receiving a medal and a custom plaque. It's rare to see a Delta operator smile, but in the photos from that day, the pride in the dog's posture and the respect he got from the most powerful generals in the world said it all. He was called the ultimate fighter. Brilliant and smart. But Conan's story teaches us something much deeper than just a military op. We live in an era dominated by tech. We have satellites that can read license, plates from space, missiles that travel at 5 times the speed of sound, and drones that fly themselves. We spend trillions developing killing machines. Yet, in the most critical moment of the fight against terror in the last decade, when the world's most dangerous enemy hid where no machine could go, humanity had to turn to its oldest alliance. It wasn't a robot, it wasn't an algorithm, and it wasn't a laser that cornered al-Baghdadi. It was the nose, the courage, and the loyalty of an animal. Conan proved that there is a bond between man and dog that transcends technology. They are our guardians in peace, and our warriors in the dark. That night in Syria, Conan wasn't just a war dog. He was 4-legged justice coming for someone who thought they could escape it. If you were blown away by Conan's story, know that he wasn't the only one. There are dogs that parachuted into World War II, dogs that detected ambushes in Vietnam, and even a dog that was promoted to sergeant, outranking his own owner in World War I. But that legendary story of Sergeant Stubby is for our next video. So, if you want to keep discovering the stories the mainstream media doesn't tell you about the real heroes of war, subscribe to the channel right now and hit the bell. Comment down below. Would you have the guts to face down a trained Malinois? I'm your narrator, and this is the channel where history is told with the gloves off. Until the next mission.